It's Wednesday, February 7th. This is the CBC Morning Report for today. I'm Tisha Hines. Good morning. In our top story, there has been a constant call for Barbados to take action regarding its declining population, and the yet-to-be-realized results of the population census shows this to be the case. Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey, who was speaking at UN House in commemoration of the United Nations Population Fund's 30th anniversary, says the population has dropped between censuses.
We just had the results of our census, not officially made known yet, but we've seen the results, and the preliminary data tells us very clearly that we definitely have a declining population. And for the first time, we actually have less people in Barbados than we had the previous time the census was done. And that is a tremendous cause for concern. Minister Blackman, I'm sure at some point you'll be talking to Barbados about this, but it's a tremendous cause for concern. The other thing is that we knew we were an aging society. The Prime Minister said it several times. We knew we were an aging society, but Barbados is an extremely aged society, a couple percentage points away from being a super aged society. And it means therefore that we have to have a different conversation around policy formation, policy implementation, conversations that we now need to have with our women, and the conversations that we have to have with our girls.
He also spoke about an important upcoming conference from his ministry to address a number of issues.
The 16th Ministerial Forum on Development in Latin America and the Caribbean to be held in Barbados in October, November. And at that conference, we hope to be focusing on the issues around the social protection and resilience and innovative financing. We just have to fine-tune it. And of course, we all are aware of the SIDS 4th International Conference to be held in Antigua in May. And I think, again, we will continue to carry on this most important conversation around these most important issues. But of course, the world, as I close, the world is troubled. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a troubled time. You just gotta turn on your television. And the more I think about it, when you think about any of these issues for persons who are vulnerable, these issues are compounded. So I think, as I have responsibility, and as Chris knows very well, for persons with disabilities, and we know the challenges that is going to have. We saw it during COVID, and I would never forget the conversation I had when, during COVID, to protect ourselves, we all wore masks. But persons who depended on being able to read your lips felt completely lost and isolated. Did we know this? No. We left a whole set of people out of that particular conversation. But I think about the vulnerabilities as I think about the changes in the world. I think about the elderly population in Barbados, which is growing. And of course, I think about women, I think of girls. And I know that these conversations are conversations that we need to have.
The executive director of the United Nations Population Fund, who expressed her delight in being in Barbados, says women in Barbados for the last 30 years have been able to express their reproductive rights. She says Barbados has met some of the sustainable development rights in relation to women, but some are still concerning her.
Barbados has since met the Sustainable Development Goal Target 3.1 on the reduction of maternal mortality. And these positive trends echo throughout the world. I must add that it is still disturbing that with all the talent and all the planning and all our concerted efforts, this region still has the dubious distinction of one of the highest teenage fertility rates in the world. Sadly, gender-based violence remains stubbornly high. So the good news is that we know it works, and what's required to implement these life-sustaining and life-transforming interventions. And one thing is clear, and that's we have to invest in women and girls' health, in their education, in their rights, and their agency. And that lays the foundation for gender equality for women and girls and for everyone. And it drives progress within communities, it accelerates prosperity.
Ms. Kadam added that the UNFPA is committed to working together with the region to keep these goals alive.
I was very happy to have participated in the Caribbean Forum on Population Development in Antigua and Barbuda last year. It was really impressive to see Caribbean countries reaffirm their commitment to the principles of the ICPD, to inter and intra-regional collaboration, and the creation of new pathways forward, because the region is at a critical juncture. When you think about emerging crises and the megatrends, the shifting population dynamics, it is the Caribbean and the small island developing states who are going to be dramatically affected.
Coming up on the CBC Morning Report, opposition criticism over the handling of crime in St. Lucia.
Kids Karaoke is a platform for young aspiring singers to shine and express their musical abilities. Tune in to CBC TV 8 on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. and repeat it on Saturdays at 2 p.m. and enjoy the performances of these talented young singers.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building a community for all mature audiences. That's why we say Q is good for you. To our Q family, we say thank you for staying connected to Q 100.7 FM. QFM is a station of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. CBC, celebrating 60, connecting Barbadian communities.
St. Lucia's opposition leader Alan Chasney continues his criticism of Prime Minister and Minister for National Security Philip Pierre's handling of the island's crime problem. Chasney has given the government a thumbs down, as we hear in this DBS television report.
This Prime Minister Philip Pierre
The opposition leader's New Year's address focused attention on the island's crime situation and the government's response. Heavy criticism was directed towards Prime Minister Philippe G. Pierre, who is also the National Security Minister.
The increase in crime across the nation in 2023 is unprecedented, causing widespread fear and panic. The Prime Minister pathetically tried to justify a second year of 75 murders by claiming the rate of murders declined in the second half of the year due to his initiatives. We can all see the fallacy of this argument, as we've started the first month of this year with 8 murders, an average of 2 per week. If this pattern continues, you can only imagine what the death toll of young men will be by the end of the year.
Chasney reiterated the sentiments of other members of his party that the Prime Minister was not being tough enough on crime.
This Prime Minister, Philip Pierre, continues to give silly excuses such as, "I don't know, I'm not a policeman," and hopes that things will get better. Additionally, Pierre has failed to understand the importance of ensuring that his cabinet is free from the acts of corruption or criminal activities. This trend is also apparent in many appointments of persons within the echelons of government who've already have shady past, and in some cases, have criminal convictions. The police and population live in a constant state of fear of a junior government minister who will bully and take to task anyone who chooses to speak out against his unethical acts and corrupt deeds. Instead of condemning this behavior, the Prime Minister cowers in silence and says nothing.
According to Chasney, Pierre's failure to set an example has weakened his government's moral authority on crime. Meanwhile, he has urged St. Lucians to unite against crime and violence amid the sharp spike in homicides.
Asphalt plants are operational, and citizens have been told by the island's Public Works Minister, Lieutenant Colonel David Birch, there, realistically, it will take 6 months until the government gets a new one. This is bad news for motorists after several potholes continue to open up across the roads. They've been reassured the government is trying to mitigate the problem in the meantime with bagged asphalt. We hear more in this Bermuda Broadcasting report.
Bermuda's pothole problem persists, with the news that all of Bermuda's asphalt plants are out of operation. Public Works Minister Lieutenant Colonel David Birch this morning said East End Asphalt is down. That's the facility that government has relied on since its own asphalt plant went out of commission last year. Bagged asphalt is being used as a temporary measure to repair potholes. Minister Birch today said, quote, "This interim measure allows the highways team to continue repairing major roads and critical areas during dry periods. Once the plant is operational again, the ministry will use their asphalt for our paving and pothole filling needs." End quote. Minister Birch previously said an order for a new government asphalt plant will be placed in the second quarter of this year. Today, he said we are realistically 6 months away from a new plant being operational. This is bad news for motorists who have been trying to avoid the many potholes that have formed after last year's rainfall, which was the second highest on record. A massive downpour last Thursday opened up some of the potholes that had been filled in. Minister Birch lamented the situation at a press conference this morning.
We have had rain in this country over the last 13 months of biblical proportions, and that has had a significant detrimental effect on our roads. We have a significant number of potholes as a result of last Thursday's rain, which has made it worse. People will know that our plant has been down all year. We are in the process of purchasing a new plant. That's a long-term plan. Unfortunately, the only other supplier of asphalt in the country is East End Asphalt, and their plant is down as well. It's about the same age as ours, so we're having the same sort of challenges.
Guyana's President Irfan Ali says the country's healthcare system is being built ahead of current demands for it to become a destination for health tourism. NCN-TV has that story.
The government will be developing new technological-based health systems to address forensics and mental health in Guyana. President Irfan Ali made the announcement yesterday, noting that the government will be building the health system ahead of the current needs while training persons simultaneously to run these facilities. In collaboration with the Mount Sinai Health System, the president says they will be working to establish a state-of-the-art forensic facility in Guyana.
We're working now, and we hope to have before the end of the year a world-class forensic facility right here in Guyana where everything in relation to forensics can be done right here in Guyana. And that is the next target for the end of the year.
As part of building this world-class health system, the president said that they are serious about a vaccination and research lab that will service the entire Latin America and Caribbean region. They are also working with different partners, including Cuba, for this development. On the issue of mental health in the country, President Ali said it must be addressed in the correct manner. As such, the Health Ministry will be strengthening their mental health capacity with a new program that will offer counseling over the phone.
We'll be launching a mental health platform with the Ministry of Health with a call center that would make mental health counseling available 24 hours every day, 7 days per week. And that is something we'll be launching very, very soon for our population.
President Ali said that as they are building these modern hospitals and facilities across the country, it is important that the necessary human resources be developed. On this note, the health said the government is looking to open a new medical school in Barbados, as well as continuing the training of nurses, lab technicians, and other medical professionals.
10 months of fighting in Sudan has caused prices to soar. The rate of inflation, which was around 80% before the conflict started, is expected to double this year. And the Sudanese pound has lost nearly half of its value. That all adds up to an increasingly desperate situation for many who have no means of income. The World Bank predicts that inflation will continue to rise, making it even harder for people to sustain themselves. Al Jazeera has more.
Amna Mohammed has come here to shop for years. Living in Durman in Sudan's capital Khartoum, she normally can find most of what she needs here. But for months, she hasn't been able to afford food.
There is an increase every month. The prices of meat, poultry, vegetables all have become very expensive since the war began. The costs are too high because our income is limited and there are no salaries. What used to be enough for us to sustain ourselves in a day, now we need to double that.
Market prices have been increasing since the start of the war between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces last April. The UN says the cost of an average basket of food has increased by 88% since the conflict began. Traders say one of the reasons behind the price rises is difficulties in getting goods.
Some things we have here are imported. There's been an increase in the price of foreign currency, so the cost of food commodities has also increased, and especially because we also have to add a small profit margin. So, customers that come in buy less and less because their money hasn't increased in value or amount.
The World Bank forecasts inflation to reach nearly 160% this year. The value of the Sudanese pound currency has sunk. Fuel costs have increased too. The ongoing fighting and destruction of factories means that goods now take longer to make it to market.
There are medicines that now come from one state when in the past it came from another. There are also others that factory owners had to relocate, so they include the cost of relocation on the price of medicines.
With the conflict showing no sign of ending, prices are expected to rise even further, with more Sudanese fearing they'll be unable to afford their basic needs.
General elections are set to take place in Pakistan on Thursday, but with former Prime Minister Imran Khan in jail and his party facing a crackdown, another former Prime Minister is looking to capitalize. Again, we go to Al Jazeera for more.
Lahore, the cultural capital of Pakistan. Punjab is the most populous province, and it's said whoever wins here stands the best chance of winning the country. It's considered a stronghold for Nawaz Sharif and his party, the Pakistan Muslim League. He held a campaign rally in Gujranwala.
I support him because whatever he has promised, he has delivered. Whatever he says, he does.
If anyone has helped the poor, it's Nawaz Sharif. He built a motorway. Anything good that happened in this country happened during his tenure.
Carefully shot campaign footage zoomed in on the crowds and gave the image of a packed stadium. But turnout was low, the stadium was not filled, and the mood was subdued. Sharif has been cleared by the courts, despite being convicted on corruption charges, sentenced to prison, and disqualified from holding public office for life. Now he's back and is considered by some to be the top contender in this election. But if he is a favourite, it's because the most popular politician in Pakistan is in jail for what his supporters believe are charges orchestrated to keep Imran Khan and his PTI party from seriously contesting these elections. No Prime Minister in the country's more than 75-year history has ever completed a full term in office. It's the military support that is seen as making or breaking governments here. Khan's party is facing what many consider is a military-backed crackdown, although the military denies accusations of influence, saying it's apolitical. On the streets, many people tend to disagree.
It's the military that does everything. Whoever they want will come into office. They have decided to make the Muslim League win. The elections will not be fair, but I will vote for the PTI.
We are voting for Khan and the PTI. What has happened to him is wrong. They removed his cricket bat symbol from the ballot paper, then stopped him from standing. The youth will vote for him.
I think we live in a democratic society, but we're not democratic. We're living in a dictatorship society.
Campaigning has been quieter than previous elections, and in some cases, PTI supporters have been forced to campaign in secret.
But people will have their say at the ballot box, and despite all the challenges and obstacles, Imran Khan's party, forced to stand as independents, may yet hold the balance of power.
It's time now to preview what's coming up on Morning Barbados today. The St. James Central DEO will be in. Selwyn Brooks will be here to tell us more about what's happening with them. Plus, it's Doc Talk today with Dr. John Barker. We're looking at women's health, as we often do with him. And in the Let's Talk HR with HERMAP segment, we have Celia Cullimore and Lynn Rollins, who are going to be a part of that discussion. They are talking business and mentorship. We also have the National United Society of the Blind Youth Empowerment Group coming through to tell us all about their upcoming fundraising movie night. That's all today on Morning Barbados. That's at 6:30 though. Next, we still have more news, sports, and weather, so stay with us.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building a community for all mature audiences. That's why we say Q is good for you. To our Q family, we say thank you for staying connected to Q 100.7 FM. QFM is a station of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. CBC, celebrating 60, connecting Barbadian communities.
Are you a youth group, 4-H club, school, Cub Scout or Brownie Pack, or any organization or club with children ages 4 to 11 years? If yes is the answer, then we at Fun School, we're looking for you. Let's have fun singing, dancing, listening to amazing stories, doing craft, and so much more. I'm such a kid at heart. But to be part of this fun and exciting new season of Fun School, just simply send an email to Alicia Alves Grant at aagrant@cbc.bb for further details. Fun School is back, and we're looking for you.
Barbadians are being assured the new cybercrime bill will not threaten their freedom of speech. This from Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, Marcia Cattle. Ms. Cattle was wrapping up debate on the cybercrime bill, which was passed in the lower house last evening, while noting that members of the House do not take concerns about the bill lightly. She's encouraging citizens to reflect on what are the kinds of things they want to say that the bill would stop them from saying.
Consider what it is you're about to say. Does it pass the test of truth? Does both its content and manner of communication pass the test of freedom from intimidation and freedom from harassment? If it does not pass that test, it should not require legislation to stop you from saying it. We exist in this society along with others. We exist in this society, in many cases, having to protect our neighbors, having to have regard to how our actions affect others.
Government is moving to bring legislation shortly to further advance the renewable energy sector. Energy Minister Senator Lisa Cummins made the revelation yesterday morning at the second annual Green Energy Expo at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. She says the pending rules will be revolutionary and visionary.
It allows for us to have a conversation in this country for the first time around concepts like microgrids. That is embedded in the legislation. We expect that there's going to be even more that we have not yet fully contemplated, and it is for that reason that I have given instructions to my ministry that a group of people with whom we are partnering, that I will share a little bit with you on in a little bit, that they have an opportunity to share their views on the draft of the legislation. It is our intention, colleagues, friends, that Barbados must have the flagship piece of energy supply legislation, not just in the region, in the world, by the middle of 2024.
Senator Cummins notes there continues to be an appetite for renewable energy projects as she spoke to what is being done to address those who are waiting to get on the grid.
Last year, the Cabinet made a decision on our recommendation that we would extend all existing licenses through December 2025 because we did not want people to be in a position existing licenses. We stopped receiving new licenses, but we continue to extend existing licenses because I tell you no lie. Every single day of my life, I was going into the office and I was going through, and I believe that the BLPC team also was seeing this on their side. Every single day I was going into my office and I was seeing a slew of individual applications for license extension.
A caution this morning to Barbadians as they try to navigate the impact of the heavy flow of Sahara dust that has been affecting the island in recent days. A leading family physician, Dr. Adrian Lord, is suggesting that the dust threat should be taken very seriously given its composition.
So Sahara dust, which we are seeing, is more than just dust. Dust, yes, but it's dust with bacteria, fungi, parasites, viruses, dead insects, other particles are in this set of Sahara dust that's coming across. Some 10,000 microorganisms are found per gram in the dust is being found.
Dr. Lord says there are several ways for Barbadians to protect themselves from the effects of the dust, but one of the most useful methods was actually utilized at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Persons who are very sensitive to dust and other allergens should protect themselves. They already know that there is inhalers that they can use, nasal inhalers for those who have what we would call sinus problems. I call it allergic rhinitis. They're inhalers that you use to prevent the asthma or respiratory problems. And there are other allergens that people get, the eye problems. We've been seeing some people who have had eye problems. But in order to protect yourself from the nasal and the chest problems that you get effects of this Sahara dust, one of the preventive measures is wearing a mask, because it would prevent you from a lot of these microorganisms that are coming across.
Well, it's time for a little sports. Australia completed a clean sweep against West Indies in the 3-match ODI series with a commanding 8-wicket win in a low-scoring contest. Sent in to bat, the Aussies dismissed West Indies for just 86 runs in the 25th over. Alec Athanzi, with 32, was one of only 3 players to achieve double figures. Xavier Bartlett snapped up 4 for 21, while Lance Morris and Adam Zampa collected 2 wickets apiece. In reply, powerhouse opener Jake Fraser-McGurk put on a show, smashing 3 sixes in his 18-ball 41. Josh Inglis backed him up with an unbeaten 35 as the hosts finished on 87 for 2 in just 6.5 overs. It was Australia's fastest ODI run chase in history, passing their previous mark of 7.5 overs against the USA in 2004. Well, coming up on Morning Barbados, we have Selwyn Brooks of the St. James Central District Emergency Organization getting ready to join us for that discussion. Before we get there, let's take in a little bit of weather. The barometric pressure stands at 1012.7 millibars. It's 27.1 degrees Celsius already. The relative humidity is 85%. And the winds are blowing out of the southeast at 30 kilometers per hour. The present weather is fair and hazy. Sea conditions moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1.5 to 2 meters and increasing. So be careful as you head out for your early morning sea baths. Here's a look at how the tides roll in today. And the general forecast for Barbados, what you can expect as you head on out to start your day. Orange alert is the advisory in effect. A haze outlook for Barbados. So a plume of thick dust haze will significantly reduce visibility across the island and marine area. Take necessary precautions. Into the evening, it's going to be a mix of clear skies and clouds. Well, that's today's morning report. Our next newscast is Newsday at 12 noon on TV8, followed by The World at 1 via our radio network of stations on 100.7 FM, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM. It's time now for Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you indeed. It's Wednesday, February 7th. I almost said December. I am living in the past, people. But a lot of us are trying to keep up with the dates. It feels like one day is rolling into the other. Welcome to Morning Barbados. So, good morning, Barbados. I'm Tisha Hines. I'll be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning. And boy, do we have a great show planned for you today. I most certainly hope you're getting into the spirit of love. After all, it's February. How about that? And for those people who are single and maybe looking, or single and loving it, you know, make it work. There are other types of love for you to embrace as well. So think about love of family, love of your job, love of your children, your relatives, all those wonderful things to do. But whatever you do, make it love. February is often observed as Black History Month as well. So we are going to be sharing across the board about some of the wonderful people of African descent, of Afro descent, who have and continue to make strides not only in our community, but most certainly across the globe. So what's coming up on Morning Barbados today, you ask? Well, we are delving into social media. We're going to talk a little bit about what's been happening online. I don't know if you took in the Grammys over the weekend, but we are going to take in a little bit of that and give you some of the acceptance speeches and so on, our favorite artists who were awarded in the segment we love to call the social media buzz. And then, of course, we have a young lady by the name of Janelle Odell, who's the president of the National United Society of the Blind. She will be here with us, along with Sharice Maynard Roach, secretary, and Shanae Cave Ward, secretary treasurer of that organization. They're telling us all about a big fundraiser and movie night they have coming up, lots of work they're doing, and we're going to let you know why you must support it. All right? So make sure you stay tuned for that. Plus, we're talking HR with her map, that segment today with Celia Cullimore, founder and senior project manager with Bajan Fusion. Her story is quite inspiring, and she's brought along business mentor Lynn Rollins, and they're going to be here to look at a company who cares, holistic corporate wellness solutions, something we all need to hear about, because these days the S word is the word that really is getting on everybody's nerves, right? Stress. They say stress kills. We want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in a holistic kind of way. Doc Talk is up on the table for today. We're looking at women's health with Dr. John Barker, who's consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. So he will be in today. We're talking ectopic pregnancy. So that's something that you want to stick around for if you can. But I do understand that your morning is fluid, you're moving around, you have to get ready for work, you're getting the children ready for school, or maybe you're retired and you're just, you know, relaxing. Whatever you're doing, we're going to make sure that you get to hear or glance and peek at what's happening. We're going to start today's discussion, though, with St. James Central District Emergency Organization's consultant, Mr. Selwyn Brooks, who is here to talk to us a little bit about how they're getting tsunami ready and how the Tsunami Ready Recognition Program is going to help us prepare for all we need to know. So good morning to you, Mr. Brooks. Welcome. Great to have you with us.
Morning, June, and morning, Barbados.
All right. So for those people who are not aware, give us an overview of what the DEM does, the District Emergency, the DEO, District Emergency Organizations. What do they do? What role do they have in helping us prepare for all that's happening in our country?
The district emergency organizations across the country, they are charged with some level of responsibility to engage diverse communities so that we can inform residents and those persons who either work or reside what they need to do to respond to those various hazards that will come their way from time to time. They are all volunteers. They give up their time, their skill, and their commitment to the Department of Emergency Management, all in a thrust to build community resilience.
All right, now you're getting ready for the Community Emergency Operations Plan 2024 or something like it. So tell us a little bit more.
The District Emergency Organization, in collaboration with obviously the Department of Emergency Management and the Coastal Zone Management Unit. What we are joining with the other two district emergency organizations who have already gained tsunami accreditation for the area Porters to Bastrop. This is a very important initiative, especially considering the build-up along the coast of Barbados, and in this case, the St. James, that has the complexities of the various hotels and whom we derive a lot of our economic sustainability from, and also those persons who live in the various communities. What the Tsunami Accreditation Program actually does, it engages the DO to go into the respective communities and engage the residents and let them know about the tsunami hazard, let them know what is planned, what they need to do, what they need to know, to also inform them of the evacuation routes, also to identify those vulnerable persons who live in that catchment area, that should the tsunami come a-calling, that we can offer some level of response capacity to those persons. And this is done in collaboration with the Barbados Police Service and the Barbados Fire Service. It is a very important initiative. It is an effort by the Department of Emergency Management and the Coastal Zone, who would like in a not too short distant future to have this tsunami accreditation for all of the coastal areas around Barbados. So there's a phased process, and we are hoping that by the end of March that we will be in a position to complete the Porters to Bastrop section of this program.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about what it entails as a hands-on thing, how people in the general area will be impacted or what they will see, people who are going out to swim or who are in that area and things like that.
Okay. We can't stop the tsunami, we can't stop the hazard. But our task is to inform the community and the residents of what they need to know and what they need to do. And if you look at the area between Porters and Bastrop, there are several properties that we need to sensitize as to what they need to do. We also, the program engages identifying those evacuation routes and which persons will move to safety. We have already identified the inundation zone, and that is that space that is more likely to be impacted by the tsunami water. And by sensitizing not only the persons in this inundation zone, they are our priority because they are most at risk, but all other persons who live along the coast as to what they need to do and where they need to go to safety, how they should do it, so that on the onset of a warning of impending impact from the Met Office, the plan is triggered. And that is a specific procedure that we are advocating persons to follow as they seek to go to higher ground using the safe evacuation routes. So this is a lot of work. People don't always see emergency management as anything exciting, but it is something that is very necessary because we stand to lose significant economic loss, especially along the coastal plains, should we be impacted by tsunami.
It's interesting that you say people don't necessarily see these types of things as anything that they should pay particular attention to, but as people living on an island, there are particular risks that really pose a threat to our immediate environment and to those of us who live here that we truly should be aware of. And I would imagine being tsunami ready is all a part of that. So what are some of the indicators that we're looking for? I know the one place that I always see the tsunami ready sign is in St. Lucie, or just as you're entering that little stretch of road heading into just going toward Sutherland Hill. Mm-hmm. I always see that one. There are other places, but for some reason that one is the one that jumps out at me. So what are some of the things that we're missing?
Well, the area which you spoke about, that was the first area that was accredited. The second one was from Worthing to the Garson. And what persons will see is a number of signs that would lead them to the safe evacuation routes, signs that would identify the hazard, the tsunami hazard area, and more importantly, signs that will clearly demark and tell persons where they need to go so as to, as possible, avoid the tsunami when it comes to calling. It is very important that persons know the evacuation routes so that they can go to safety. It is important that persons should install on their phones the various apps so that when there is a national warning alert, that persons can receive it within a reasonable time. The response to the tsunami hazard is not very, very long, depending on what has triggered the tsunami, and therefore it is very important that persons arm themselves with the various apps, BMS app, the Department of Emergency Management portal, so that they will be informed. The alert system also includes television and radio interrupt, should it be necessary with the oncoming tsunami. So these are all part of the sensitization initiatives that we are currently pursuing to make sure that residents are well informed and know exactly what they need to do and what they need to know. There's also the myth that some people will assume that they can get in their car and move to higher ground, and that is usually the perception or a feeling that persons will believe that will be the best route. And this is one of the areas that we try to warn persons not to. It is obviously that you want to get out of the area as quick as possible, but using your car might not be the best, especially considering traffic congestion that usually happens around, and no one knows when the tsunami will come. I can recall discussing with a resident some time back, and she says, what if the tsunami comes at night? And that also creates the greatest challenge, because during the day, there's a perception that you're able to see to move around, but at night, especially when people are sleeping and people are not as active as they may be during the day. So these are some of the challenges that by informing residents before and to keep them informed and sensitized as to what they need to do, that is the only way that we can offer some level of resilience to this type of impact.
Well, that's why it's important to have a plan, because yes. I have a friend and colleague who told me she used to live, what we would call on the beach. Mm-hmm. So beachside residents, and she said they had bags packed and ready to go. They always had bags packed, and I guess we don't want to think about life in that way, but it's important for families to have an evacuation route. Mm-hmm. Even talking to you, speaking about being able to tune into television or radio, how do you do that if you're strictly utilizing only the services that we have available now, with your plugging in your phones, and even when the electricity goes off, some people can't use their phones any longer. Yes. They don't think beyond that. These days, the transistor radios with the batteries are reserved for only older people. So you don't see a lot of younger people with transistor radios. So if, for example, the electricity goes off, there's no contact at all. You can't hear what's happening unless you go in the car. You don't want to go burn things out. So it's really important to have an evacuation plan. What would be your advice to Barbadians, not only people in areas that are close to the beach or areas that might be more susceptible to what's happening if there is a tsunami? I mean, I don't even want to think about it, but we have to, because as we know, Barbados is all flats. I mean,
the topography of the land, the tsunami wave, it would tend to increase in height and of course in speed as it comes along the shore. And it is therefore imperative that persons know that I live in the tsunami zone. That's the first thing. Secondly, what do I need to do? Thirdly, how do I prepare for it? Now, when the accreditation process is completed, this is a plan which will be distributed via the social media platforms. And for persons who may want to have a copy of it, which I would think is the best way, and don't just put it on the shelf to catch dust. The information within this plan clearly guides individuals on what they need to do and where they need to go. And
is this
who
a
to
draft?
contact. This is the draft,
okay,
because the accreditation process is not completed.
Okay, so I can't peek at it.
Sure.
I want to peek at it. Let me tell you why. Because, you know, we have to critique these things, but this is a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and where I will go through it from tip to tip, mostly because it's my job to.
Mm-hmm.
The average person is not going to go through this. I know you said don't let it catch dust when you put it on social media, but how you put it on social media is going to be really, really important.
Yes, there are
so you're
pull-up
going
pages.
to do it digitally?
Yes, it will be done
Good.
digitally. And also there's a pull-up page. The pull-up page or the document encompasses about 30 pages. It has all of the various maps and
There are
journal
43
information.
pages.
Okay. However, there's 2 pull-up pages
Yes.
that clearly says do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that.
Okay.
So that it makes it more user-friendly.
Yeah.
Because as you said, the reason why the document may be this amount of pages, people need to be informed a little bit more of what the emergency procedures that they should be familiar with.
This is true, and I know that we want to encourage people to read more and stuff, but we also have to meet people where they are.
Yes.
And for a lot of people, they're on social media, they're scrolling. We have to make sure that we're sharing the information in a way that they can understand. We most certainly can't end here. We have to end here, but generally we have to continue this discussion so that people understand what's within those pages as well, because we would want to fulfill our role and share in that way as well. But it's always great to see you, Mr. Brooks, Selwyn Brooks, consultant with the DEM. So you talked about the apps that people should have on their phones. I have CapCap on my phone, so you should go download that. It gives the various alerts and so on. And you definitely should look into what's happening. Know if you're in a tsunami zone and all of these things and what needs to be done. And start talking to your family at least about creating a plan. We will hold your hand. We're going to walk you through it. We're going to continue to discuss as they work towards bringing this document to the public so that we can all be ready for any eventuality. Again, thanks for sharing with us.
Sure.
Hey, we're going to take a break here and come back. We're talking to Dr. Barker. Today we're looking at ectopic pregnancy. That's next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Are you a youth group, 4-H club, school, Cub Scout or Brownie Pack, or any organization or club with children ages 4 to 11 years? If yes is the answer, then we at Fun School, we're looking for you. Let's have fun singing, dancing, listening to amazing stories, doing craft, and so much more. I'm such a kid at heart. But to be part of this fun and exciting new season of Fun School, just simply send an email to Alicia Alves Grant at aa.grant@cbc.bb for further details. Fun School is back, and we're looking for you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
Hi, everybody.
5 minutes to go before the 7 o'clock hour. I have to say a special good morning to Dr. John Barker, consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. I first of all have to say Happy New Year. Even though we're into February, this is the first time we're having a chat for 2024. So great to have you on. If I could hear you, that would even be better.
Can you hear me now?
All right, there you are. So today we're taking a look at ectopic pregnancy, and this seems to be more common than we know. So tell us exactly what it is for those who might not know.
Right. Normally, when you're pregnant, the pregnancy implants inside the uterus and then develops from there. The risk of ectopic is whereby you get a pregnancy implanting outside of the uterine cavity. So it can be in the fallopian tubes, it can be on the ovary, or sometimes rarely it can be in the actual abdomen itself. Usually occurs 1 in every 90 pregnancies. Sometimes it can be a cause of mortality as well, especially if diagnosed late, because what happens is that the placenta tissue erodes the fallopian tubes or the ovary, and then as a result you get a lot of internal bleeding. So depending on if the patient has any comorbidities or isn't doing very well, sometimes they can have a very bad outcome. Usually they are found and treated early to avoid major complications.
What are some of the factors, the risk factors going in? Who is the woman that would be more susceptible to ectopic pregnancy?
Yes, if you had a previous ectopic, sometimes that will increase your risk, and that's up to 10% or more. This is because sometimes they might have an underlying factor in the actual fallopian tubes as well. Or sometimes you can have, if you had previous surgery, if you had previous pelvic infection, like pelvic inflammatory disease, or in the unlikely case whereby you had in a copper T or a Mirena coil. These are excellent contraceptives. However, if in the rare chance that they do fail, it will prevent most of the time a pregnancy in the cavity of the uterus. Sometimes you can get a pregnancy in the cavity, but more than likely you will get a pregnancy outside of the cavity. So these are the major risk factors for having an ectopic pregnancy.
All right. And how do you know? How would you know that there's something different with this pregnancy? Would you have to wait until you have an ultrasound, or are there things that might be happening with your body that could point you in that direction?
Right, that's a very good question. Usually, the patient will complain of a period of amenorrhea, meaning that they missed the period. So they may have done a pregnancy test, which may or may not be pregnant. However, the major issue would be abdominal pain, lower abdominal pain. Sometimes they can have bleeding as well. And the bleeding can be either light or slightly heavy. Sometimes they can have shoulder tip pain. Shoulder tip pain and dizziness is whereby sometimes they have a ruptured ectopic, so they actually becoming symptomatic. And the shoulder tip pain would be caused by irritation of the diaphragm. So as a result, the patient will complain of shoulder tip pain. Or sometimes they have a fainting episode. This is due to the fact that they're trying to compensate, and as a result, they've lost a lot of blood and they actually fainted.
Wow. So you talked a little bit about some history with the body. I know you mentioned maybe pre-existing conditions, NCDs, and things like that. So what we're saying is these women might be a little more susceptible than other women to ectopic pregnancy?
It's in relation to a compromise. So for argument's sake, if you have a cardiac condition and you actually have an internal bleeding, then you will be at significantly increased morbidity or mortality due to the fact that it wouldn't be compensating like how a younger person would be.
All right. So how do we figure out that this is happening and confirm that this might be the problem that a lady has?
Okay, once we examine the patient, usually in terms of if it's a ruptured ectopic, because the majority of patient would present in an unruptured state. So what we look for is abdominal tenderness. Sometimes you can have surgical signs, meaning that you have irritation inside the tummy. So you can have tenderness, what we call rebound or guarding, whereby the abdomen is quite rigid. Sometimes if we do an internal examination, you can have what we call cervical excitation, whereby once we wiggle the cervix, extremely tender. So these are the major physical or clinical signs. We also do a ultrasound. Now, the ultrasound, you can have a myriad of findings. If you're lucky, you will see the actual ectopic in the actual on the ultrasound scan. Most of the time, excuse me, you can see a mass, or sometimes you can see free fluid in the tummy. Now, if it is early, sometimes you can get what you call a sac, which is a gestational sac. But sometimes, well, most of the time in the ectopic pregnancy, you get what you call a pseudosac or false sac. So if when we do this ultrasound scan and we see these things, then we suspect an ectopic pregnancy. In the ultrasound, what we are seeing here with the teal, with the turquoise mass in the middle, that's the ectopic pregnancy, and the blue arrow, the blackness there is the free fluid, and the green shows the uterus. So once we see that, then that's a definite ultrasound evidence of a ectopic pregnancy. If we don't get it as clear cut, then what we do is a hormone test in pregnancy, which is called a beta HCG. And this will be repeated every 48 hours, and it should increase by at least 66 or double. This is how we know the pregnancy is inside of the womb. If, however, if it is what we call plateauing, meaning that it goes up and then it levels off, then that is highly suggestive of an ectopic pregnancy. Sometimes it might take at least 3 blood tests to determine what is happening, because, as I said, most of the patients, would present not clinically ruptured, and some of them might actually present earlier than some. And usually the average gestational age would be between 5 to 7 weeks. In terms of gestational age, that usually the ectopic pregnancy would present.
Dr. Barker, how do we manage this? What happens after you find out?
Right. If we think you have an ectopic pregnancy, there's either medical, surgical, or sometimes really conservative management. So if we do medical management, we use a drug called methotrexate, which prevents the pregnancy cells from dividing. But before we actually do put the patient on methotrexate, which is the injection, we have to make sure that we can follow them up, because you have to follow them up closely at least for 2 weeks. This is because sometimes you can get a rupture of the ectopic within the first 48 hours. The patient should have particular blood values less than a particular amount, and most importantly, there shouldn't be a fetal heart or rupture of the actual ectopic or blood in the abdomen. This is the medical management. Surgical management, usually, or gold standard, should be by laparoscopic means, which is laparoscopic salpingectomy, which is removal of the fallopian tube. The only issue would be if the patient had a previous ectopic. So then you would try to save the affected tube by just doing something called a salpingectomy, whereby we just slit the tube and then remove the placental tissue. That has a longer follow-up because of sometimes it might not be able to get out all of the tissue. It's not usually commonly done, but in terms of the laparoscopic management, is associated with less blood loss, less analgesia, and a quicker recovery to normal.
Wow. And once you get to this place where you might have to have surgery to move past, what's the recovery like?
Right, and in terms of if you have it keyhole, the recovery is actually quite rapid. Usually they go home either the same day or the next day, depending on how much blood loss the patient has had. Um, if we do the normal traditional route, your recovery will be quicker because there's a bigger scar on your abdomen, but it's not as big as if you were, like, say, getting a hysterectomy. But your recovery is quicker, but not as quick as the laparoscopy. Usually, if we treat you with medication, you cannot. But we advise you not to get pregnant for 6 months after getting the medication, is because it can still have residual effects of the medication itself. And sometimes a small percentage of women would need psychological support in relation to the trauma that they would have gone through in relation to losing the pregnancy, etc.
I'm really happy that you said that, because a lot of the times, I hear of so many women who say that they have challenges with pregnancies, or, they lose babies early on, and everybody's like, oh, you can have more. That's not major. But I know that's not the experience of a lot of women who have these challenges in ectopic pregnancies, or who have miscarriages, sometimes many of them, and things like that. So it's very important to take care of the mental side of things as well, and make sure that they're doing well. And they're well completely, not only physically, but mentally.
Yes, please. Most women recover in terms of psychologically. Most women would be affected. However, there's a small subset that might actually get clinically depressed in relation to what has happened to them. And as a result, most times I would advise people, if they're having symptoms of either anxiety or depression or sadness, to get in contact with me, or actually let us know quicker, rather than waiting until it gets to a point whereby we have to intervene much harder. So we try to intervene much earlier, so there's a better outcome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. John Barker. Always enlightening speaking with you. And we look forward to further discussions in the coming weeks.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So much for us to take in today. Make sure that you're listening, and you can share. We all have women in our lives. So make sure, if there's something that you find to be, a little alarming or jarring, or it might be relating to you, make sure you check it out. We're going to take a break here and come back. When we come back, Celia Cullimore of Bajan Fusion is in the house, and she's brought along her business mentor. Lynn is also here. Stay with us.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affairs segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
What's going on, everybody? It's Mahalia from Mahalia's Corner and the band to Mile Hill. I'm about to become a mommy for the very first time, and I know there's so much that I can't control as my baby grows up. And while that's the truth for all parents, there are some things we can do to help set up our little ones for a long and healthy life. And one of those things is making sure that they're immunized against deadly but preventable diseases like polio, rubella.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Time now for an update of the news. It's 10 minutes after 7 o'clock. There's been a constant call for Barbados to take action regarding its declining population, and the yet-to-be released results of the population census shows this to be the case. Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Kirk Humphrey, who was speaking at UN House in commemoration of the United Nations Population Fund's 30th anniversary, says the population has dropped between censuses.
We just had the results of our census, not officially made known yet, but we've seen the results, and the preliminary data tells us very clearly that we definitely have a declining population. And for the first time, we actually have less people in Barbados than we had the previous time the census was done. And that is a tremendous cause for concern. Minister Blackman, I'm sure at some point you'll be talking to Barbados about this, but it's a tremendous cause for concern. The other thing is that we knew we were an aging society. The Prime Minister said it several times. We knew we were an aging society, but Barbados is an extremely aged society, a couple percentage points away from being a super aged society. And it means, therefore, that we have to have a different conversation around policy formation, policy implementation, conversations that we don't need to have with our women, and the conversations that we have to have with our girls.
Government is moving to bring legislation shortly to further advance the renewable energy sector. Energy Minister Senator Lisa Cummins made the revelation this morning, well, that's yesterday morning, at the second annual Green Energy Expo at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. She says the pending rules will be revolutionary and visionary.
Allows for us to have a conversation in this country for the first time around concepts like microgrids. That is embedded in the legislation. We expect that there's going to be even more that we have not yet fully contemplated, and it is for that reason that I have given instructions to my ministry that a group of people with whom we are partnering, that I will share a little bit with you on in a little bit, that they have an opportunity to share their views on the draft of the legislation. It is our intention, colleagues, friends, that Barbados must have the flagship piece of energy supply legislation, not just in the region, in the world, by the middle of 2024.
A caution this morning to Barbadians as they try to navigate the impact of the heavy flow of Sahara dust that has been affecting the island in recent days. A leading family physician, Dr. Adrian Lord, is suggesting that the dust threat be taken very seriously given its composition.
So Sahara dust, which we are seeing, is more than just dust. Dust, yes, but it's dust with bacteria, fungi, parasites, viruses, dead insects, other particles are in this set of Sahara dust that's coming across. Some 10,000 microorganisms are found per gram in the dust is being found.
Dr. Lord says there are several ways for Barbadians to protect themselves from the effects of the dust, but one of the most useful methods was actually utilized at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Persons who are very sensitive to dust and other allergens should protect themselves. They already know that there is inhalers that they can use, nasal inhalers for those who have what we would call sinus problems. I call it allergic rhinitis. They're inhalers that you use to prevent the asthma or respiratory problems. And there are other allergens that people get, the eye problems. We've been seeing some people who have had eye problems. But in order to protect yourself from the nasal and the chest problems that you get effects of this Sahara dust, one of the preventive measures is wearing a mask, because it would prevent you from a lot of these microorganisms that are coming across.
Remember, there is a dust haze warning in effect, so be very careful, particularly if you're outdoors today. Our next newscast is Newsday at 12 noon on TV8, followed by The World at 1 via our radio network of stations on 100.7 FM, 98.1 The One, and 94.7 FM. Hey, coming up on Morning Barbados, it's a Bajan fusion. Celia Cullimore is here, and Lynn Rollins as well. The ladies are in the house. That's all next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb. From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 7:15. Hey, what's for breakfast this morning? Let's not talk about that. I'm not really a breakfast person. I don't know. Some people are. They do big breakfasts and so on, but I guess I'm a traditional Bajan girl. You know, for us, it's always been the granny saying, a cup of tea and 2 biscuits or 2 bakes. Never anything too much. But that certainly has been our way. I know a lady who cares holistically about what you do and how you take care of yourself. And that goes all the way from mental wellness, what you're putting into your body. It's Celia Cullimore, founder and senior project manager with Bajan Fusion. And she's brought along Lynn Rollins, the business mentor for Bajan Fusion. So I know both ladies very well and for a very long time, ladies of a certain age, just like I am these days. Good to have you with me this morning.
Pleasure. Thank you. Morning.
Good to be here.
All right. Now, Celia, we met many moons ago when I did another show in the midday, and you were just coming back to Barbados and kind of trying to get a foothold in what you were doing. Very, very unique space, but you've created a real niche for yourself. So talk to me about Bajan Fusion, all you do, and how you've been able to get where you are today.
Great question, Keisha. Bajan Fusion is a fitness lifestyle service. We're designed to fuse Barbadian fitness, music, and sports on the world stage. We are in the business of helping people and organizations get fit for life through engaging events that fuse entertainment, education, and excitement. We are approaching 12 years on December 31st, and it's been a long journey. And like you said, I've been able to craft, and that crafting really happened because I believed in what I was doing and being consistent on the journey. So my background in human resources, being an athlete, a national champion for Barbados, and being able to fuse all of my passions: fitness, sports, wellness, entrepreneurship, and HR development.
That's very, very important. And here's where we bring you in, Lynn Rollins. I have to get accustomed to calling you that name. That's me being my very, very naughty self.
Yes, it is.
So talk to me about how important it is to look after health and wellness on a journey to increasing productivity in the work environment.
Well, very good question again, Celia. Tisha. So my connection with Celia as her business mentor, as she's trying to build out this entrepreneurial idea in a space where, you know, we usually do commodities. So services, very difficult, very challenging. It's not a straightforward professional services. And, you know, as we try to create products then that can be consumed by both corporate and individuals, how do we do that? So my role, my background too is in human resource development, tourism and hospitality, but again, working to make this idea that she has about making fitness fashionable, which is not a thing for me, by the way, but we've been able to make it so far.
All right, making fitness fashionable. It goes a little beyond that, though, you know, if we examine it deeply, because, you know, to make the link between how productive you can be if you're feeling your best self, I think is what's important, Celia.
Yes, and what I would like to share with the audience today is just a definition of wellness, so people know here is where we start, but here are the things that we need to do. Wellness is an active and holistic process of learning about and engaging in behaviors that are likely to result in optimal health and well-being. So when you take care of yourself holistically, at Bajan Fusion, we focus on the approach of body, mind, spirit connection, where we're fusing fitness and sports, but also thinking about our Bajan culture and how we can really take care of our full self. So mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, relationships. When you think about the workplace and even your home life, relationships are very important. So how are you positively engaging people, and how are you keeping that support system that wants the best for you around you?
There's so many things to navigate in the workplace space that don't end when you walk through the door.
True.
And I think for us to have a company like yours that looks at something that's been overlooked for such a long time, it means a lot. But I think it also calls for kind of bringing people on board, bringing people along. So how are you working with Celia as her business mentor to be able to, or what have you done through the years to get her in the mind space herself? To be able, because this is work for her too.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it might be a labor of love, but it's work for you too.
Yes.
So I would imagine working on getting her in the mind space, building out this new concept while giving of herself to others to achieve the end goal.
Yeah. So almost 12 years later, my role continues to be, what are we selling and who are we selling it to? And we often have long conversations, sometimes arguments, to be honest, about creating a product that makes sense. So corporate Barbados is not $1 million businesses. They're not businesses that are thousands of employees strong. They're usually smaller companies, and it needs to make sense. Unfortunately, there is this notion that the employer needs to do everything for the employee, and that's not sustainable. Productivity levels are challenged. All of that the employer has to consider. So if we're going to be creating a wellness solution, a holistic wellness solution, and we're saying to employers now, look, you have to take care of the mental health of employees. You have to make sure that you do your part to reduce NCDs. What does that look like? When we create a product and we say to an employer, look, pay for this, foot the bill for your employees, what is that return going to be? And yes, our people are our greatest assets, particularly Barbadians, because of our culture and our general disposition, but it's still a cost. So my role is to make sure that whatever we come up with, it makes sense in a Barbadian context and it makes sense financially.
Well, as we're looking at a company who cares, what does that look like for a business? Because realistically, you said there are employees who go in thinking a business should do everything for them, from health and wellness backwards. But where does, what's the role then of the employer? And how much does the employer need to do to be able to help the employee get to a place where they're truly productive, or their best productive selves, look of being, whatever combination. How do they, where does it start? Where does it end?
All right, so it definitely starts with having the conversation. When I think about my personal and my professional experiences in academia, in corporate, and as an accomplished athlete, I know how important it is to take care of yourself. But also having that support system from your employer, from your manager. When I think about myself, when I was sick with hyperthyroidism and couldn't sleep at night, and then coming to work and falling asleep at my desk and losing all this weight, there were so many things that was happening with my body, and it was something that I could not hide. And I had to have the conversation with my employer. And for him to be understandable and be able to say to me, Celia, take the time that you need, however we can support you, that makes a difference. And when you know that your company cares about your overall well-being, you become more motivated. I'm definitely a loyal employee for life because this person just isn't seeing me as a workhorse. They're seeing me as a human being, a whole person who is having a challenge, and they need to make sure that they can come forward and support me. And that's the hope that you have for all organizations and all employees, that they see that they're dealing with human beings who are bringing their whole self to work. And so whether it's a financial challenge, a family challenge, a health challenge, how do we understand their needs and be willing to support them while they still get the job done?
For sure, and this really supports the school of thought that you need not give employees money or tangibles to get them on board with you know, your general goals for your company.
And as Barbados moves closer and closer to being a services economy, this becomes even more important. What does productivity look like when I'm looking after you? Yes, we're in a unionized environment. Employee rights are still important. We're not negating any of that, but we're saying that if your human resources are really an asset, there's a value proposition somewhere in how you design your organization, how you recruit, how you maintain, how you support, that values your employees and allows them to be the best that they could be mentally, physically, and spiritually.
So wonderful free advice is what we're hoping for in Morning Barbados today, Celia. So from your perspective, from Bajan Fusion, looking at holistic corporate wellness solutions, what would be your next step for employers? You said the first step definitely has to be that conversation.
Yes.
So, you know, what's next? Even if it is where and how that conversation happens.
Yes.
Because you have to be mindful of that too.
Yes. So the conversation is the employers come in, they have requests to solve problems, enhance workplace relations. And there are times where employees experience Bajan Fusion outside of the workplace. So the idea of, this is actually really good. I think this is something that I can recommend my organization to do. And if you've been paying attention in the media, we now have the National Workplace Wellness Policy, which was launched by the Ministry of Labor, Social Security, and Third Sector. And this concept was prepared by Dr. Dwayne Devonish. So there is that push now to engage on organizations, to encourage them, but help them to create systems within the organization. And I'm excited to be a part of the promotions and awareness committees where we now get to educate, bring awareness, sensitize Barbadians about this national workplace wellness policy. And in doing that, companies will learn. So it's not mandatory, but companies are encouraged to participate and to build out sustainable wellness programs. So that's where I am at in terms of the brand. We already have lifestyle workshops, we have soft adventure and sporting activities, we do team building. So anything that we can use to really bring employers and employees together, but in a way where they see the benefits. They see the benefits for themselves, but they also see the return on their investment as they invest in their employees through the activities that we offer.
All right, so I think it's important to be very, very authentic in what we say and in sharing what's actually happening. You both mentioned that you have backgrounds in human resources. Where are we in Barbados? Are businesses there? Are business leaders there? Is it their thinking, or are HR professionals still fighting with the higher level managers about how they should treat to employees and their problems or issues, or even their successes, to ensure that, you know, we're realizing our goals through bringing our employees along?
It is hard. It is hard. HR managers, they have a tough job. They've always had a tough job. HERMAB and other HR associations would tell you right away that it's a challenge. I personally, I think that every manager should be an HR manager. Particularly if we're moving towards services, you have to take on managing the emotional side of your employees. It is no easier than managing and being a part of your family. So now we're extending that family to the workplace. And we have to continuing, because at the end of the day, it's people. And if a person feels good about what they're doing, they're going to do a good job. I think this initiative is quite, I'm looking forward to the outcomes of this initiative, to see more HR managers come on board and make the case. Because again, it's expensive. And in Barbados, you know, we have the NIS and all of the national contributions that the government says that we have to make. So this becomes one more thing that the employer has to do. But I think there's space for HR persons to have those tough conversations. I think there's room for all managers to become HR experts so that they become more sensitive to the people that they're dealing with, working with, to make things happen. And as we embrace a services economy and we recognize that there's services that are beyond professional services, I think there's a lot of scope. I'm optimistic. I'm not about to become fit physically, but I am optimistic about companies in Barbados embracing and looking after their employees. Because we're a caring country, we're a caring people. We just have to find a way now to translate it into how we do business.
Absolutely. I can totally agree with that. But, you know, for you, Celia, there's been a lot more discussion, a lot more talk about mental wellness. We've been seeing a lot of negatives that we don't necessarily like coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. I feel like every day we're hearing about people employed and not employed, most of them employed, who are taking their own lives and things like this. I mean, this is maybe the extreme, but it takes a while to get there. So how are the programs that you offer through Bayesian Fusion, for example, helping to mitigate some of these challenges that are popping up all across the island that we're seeing far more prevalent in 2024?
That's a great question, Keisha. And we do offer lifestyle workshops. So you remember you talked about authenticity, being real. So having those real conversations. So whether it's stress management and relaxation techniques, whether it's body image and self-esteem, whether it's actually having the conversation around, I wouldn't do the conversation around suicide, but we also work with other experts to support employees. Finances is another challenge. So as we build out our programming, we also engage other experts within the industry to be a part of our big Bayesian Fusion experiences.
Another major thing that I think we have to look at when we're talking about this is the fact that Barbados is a rapidly aging population. I was so surprised to hear that the age of the average Barbadian is 46 years old.
Oh, I'm going to be that this year. Wow.
My goodness.
Scary.
No, I'm not talking my age on camera.
How do we navigate this space? How do we do all of this with that in mind? Because even that can present itself as a challenge. All of a sudden, you are not necessarily dealing in the workplace with all of these younger people. We're hearing all across the globe, AI is it's the next big thing. We're moving toward technology, but you have a work environment where you have a lot of aged staff. You definitely have to look at that in a different way than you would if you have a lot of younger people who are entering the workforce. So what are some of the unique challenges that would be presented for our workplaces who are aiming to get to a place where health and wellness is on the table, but with an older staff?
So for me, that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity for Bayesian Fusion. That's an opportunity for companies to rethink. Flexi work has been around in HR talk for eons. What does flexi work look like in an island destination? Also bearing in mind that we have, well, this is anecdotal. I don't know that there is any empirical evidence in Barbados, but the number of micro and small businesses that exist in Barbados, our businesses aren't very large. And the recent work program that we were able to launch during COVID. So we have more persons moving to Barbados to work, smaller companies, a lot more agile. how do we balance work and life? We live on an island, so for me, it's not an insurmountable challenge. I think for me, it's an opportunity for companies like Beijing Fusion and other companies out there offering services around wellness and just holistic well-being. I think it's an opportunity for us to design and create new products and yeah, just this island life is a real vibe. So what are we doing? How are we gonna maximize it?
I would like to add to that as well, where how do we as a people, how do we work as a team? I'm an athlete, accomplished player, and how do we work as a team? How do we share our concerns, our challenges, and then how do we work together as a team? How do we take ownership for ourselves and responsibilities for our lives, knowing, wow, like the age rate is 46? If I'm turning 46 or in my 50s, how do I start to take care of myself holistically? As you know, the NCD rates are high. 1 in 3 children are overweight and obese. There is the 4 out of 10 men that are physically inactive, 1 out of 10 women that are physically active. So how do we know this information, and how do we start to take steps to enhance or improve our overall wellness?
These are some very important questions that we must ask. And, I would like to close our discussion. We have the National United Society of the Blind, some young people, they're moving into youth empowerment coming up. But, even the integration of people with disabilities into the work environment is very, very important in terms of what we do. And in a big way, we have not been working toward this for a very long time. I remember speaking with Carrie-Ann Eiffel around COVID, and what she said to me is, this is bittersweet what's happening, in that people are now working from home. This flexi time is now something that's being considered, but this is all that we were asking for, to be able for people to show that they can do for a very long time. So it's going to be very important for us to have that discussion that you talked about, Celia, and really work together to make the environment, the work environment, far more than, whips and chains. Clock in, let me get my 8 hours, clock out. Because if that's what you ask for, that's what you're going to get. Yeah. I want to thank you ladies for coming in.
Thank you
Always
so much.
A wonderful discussion with Lynn and Celia too. Good to see both of you.
Great.
And congratulations on all you're doing, Celia, with Beijing Fusion. I saw that you were going to be at Emerge. Unfortunately, I wasn't here to attend.
It was a powerful night.
I heard all about it. And I've been stalking your page and Raphael Saul's page and Alison Ellis's page. People I know in different areas and different spheres, but definitely a truly inspirational night.
Yes.
So congratulations on that success. Continue to fly your flag high.
Amen.
Thank you. Good stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. Like I told you, coming up, we have a few young ladies who are going to be here to talk to us about a big fundraiser that's coming up. It's Janelle Odo, Sharice Maynard Roach, and Shania Cave Ward. That's next. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kia Lewis, General Practitioner and Healthy Lifestyle Advocate. Good nutrition starts at home. So this school year, I want you to consider packing healthy, nutritious snacks and lunches for your children to carry, rather than having them buy them at school. And don't just pack things you think they should have. Have a discussion and come up with things that you both know they will enjoy.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. It's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
You know why?
Hi folks, it's Natalie Burke. Y'all remember when we used to have to line up at primary school with our uniform sleeves rolled up so the nurses could give us the injection? Or that bad tasting drop of red liquid that they used to give us with a sugar cube to kill the taste? Wanna know just what I'm talking about? Those are our childhood memories. But while memories were being made, we were actually getting protection. Protection from illnesses and diseases like measles, mumps, rubella, and polio that could make us very sick or potentially kill us. Nowadays, there has been a noticeable decrease in the numbers of children being immunized. Why deny them a chance to be well or even to live? Come on, parents and guardians, step up for your children. Get them immunized and keep up with the immunization schedule. Stop lagging and get your children protected starting today.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
I'm Anne St. John, a consultant pediatrician. When packing healthy lunch boxes, do include a fruit, which includes a banana, apple, orange, or grapes to supply fiber. Aim for low-calorie packaged snacks without the mention of flour or sugar amongst the four ingredients on the back label. 1 in 3 children in Barbados is affected by overweight or obesity. Let us join together as parents and care providers to reduce the further development of this chronic non-communicable disease within our communities.
Every year, millions of children die from causes that are preventable and treatable. Scary, right? It's a Songbird Nikita, mom of 2 young boys, Knox and Noah. And rates of immunization have been backsliding to their lowest levels in the last 3 decades, which means that children are missing out on routine vaccines that can help keep them safe from death.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
18 minutes before 8 o'clock. Good to have you in company on this Wednesday morning. We're halfway through the week. A former host of Morning Barbados used to call it hump day. So, you know, kind of hump in the middle of the week. You get it? If you don't, okay, I know I'm cheesy. That's okay. but that's what it is. So I told you we're going to be meeting up with Janelle Odell, who's president of the National United Society of the Blind. Cherise Maynard Roach is secretary. Shania Cave Ward is secretary treasurer. And they're here this morning to talk to us about all the amazing work that the society is doing, particularly a fundraiser that's coming up in the form of a movie night. I'm going to start with you, Madam President. Good morning and welcome. I did not get the memo that it was green today, or I would have indeed worn my green so that you know, I'd be in step with what you're doing. But talk to us about the work, first of all, Janelle, of the society.
Okay. Good morning, and thank you for having me. So, a National United Society of the Blind Barbados, we are a charitable organization which caters to the motivating, educating, and advocating for the rights of blind and visually impaired persons in Barbados. So we do that through various workshops, training programs, and even sports to empower blind and visually impaired persons. While doing this, however, we realize that while blind and visually impaired persons might be at a disadvantage in Barbados, blind youth have it even worse because a lot of persons do not realize that blind children, we don't have the same access to education and the same rights to education as persons without disabilities. We don't have the same rights to employment because a lot of persons choose not to employ persons with disabilities out of fear or just discrimination on their mental beliefs. And these things lead to a lot of self-esteem issues and dependency and a lot of different issues that we decided and we knew that we had to try to work on to advocate for our young people and empower our young people to fight for our rights in Barbados.
So Shania, tell me a little bit more about the formation of this youth empowerment group. Well, Janelle told us why you moved to do it, but you know, what are some of the ways that you are getting more youth on board who need to be a part of this advocacy?
Okay, so good morning. Thank
Good
you
morning
for having
again.
me. So the youth group as an organization, we saw that the youth, as Janelle said, are having a lot of challenges. So we created the youth group as a safe space for these young persons to come and air their views and stuff like that. So we then put together workshops and stuff to help the youth to
to be able to advocate
empower
for themselves.
Yes,
That's right, to empower them.
Yes, please.
Yeah, very, very important. What about you, Charisse? Your story on, you know, how you've been able to kind of pour into this and why you decided to be a part of it overall.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
Good morning.
Basically, it is that, like Janelle stated, that we realized that the youth was struggling and it really touched me. I wasn't born with a visual disability. I acquired my visual disability, but to come and realize that it is a trial and testing to have equal rights for education and to employment and to want to feel included, it really touched me. So hence why I joined with the National United Society of the Blind with the fight to advocate for the rights of the blind and visually impaired young people.
Yeah, that's very important, and I really applaud you. I know for you, Janelle, you've been kind of at the forefront of advocacy even before you knew that's what you were doing, because you were just so vocal about you know, who you are, what you needed, how it was to be done, and I think that you were empowered in great measure by, you know, a strong family structure and the people who are around you, the support systems that are put in place. But you mentioned there are so many other young people who do not have that level of support, which is why you're doing what you're doing. And here we are talking about a movie night to be able to get you a little closer to helping these young people. So let's talk about this particular night and what it will mean to the beneficiaries.
Well, Tisha, a lot of our workshops and our programs are very costly. And remember that we are catering to blind and visually impaired persons. So when we are talking about this group of persons, we have to think about transportation as well. And transportation is extremely expensive in Barbados. So when we are putting together these programs, we have to bear all these things in mind. And as a charity, we don't have a lot of the resources that we would like to have to be successful and facilitate a lot of these programs. So one way that we are trying to raise funds is through this movie night under the stars, is at the National Disability Unit on Saturday evening. Doors open at 5, but the movie starts at 6. And it's only $5 and you get to watch 2 movies. I don't know where else in Barbados you get to watch 2 movies for $5. But it's Valentine's Day promotion as well. So, you know, if you're feeling the spirit of love and you have your partners out there, you could come and bring your blankets and your chairs and just support us. And even if you don't want to come, you can still buy some tickets for National Disability Unit and come and support us as well.
All right, Shania, what has been your experience? Because I would imagine all of you ladies come from a position of knowledge when you're talking about some of the ways that you're not truly able to, you know, show who you are and what you can do. So, you know, from your perspective, why is it important for this work to continue?
It's important for this work to continue so that the young people know that they have a voice too, and that we too can live a quote unquote normal life.
Yeah, that's very, very important.
That's our motto.
Movie night though, Janelle.
Yes, please.
Movie night coming up, and she talked about bringing your blankets and sharing all this lovey-dovey thing she's talking about. But I mean, you're doing some really important work here through the National Disabilities Unit grounds. You're going to have the Honorable Kirk Humphrey as the patron for the evening. So he's going to be there as well. It's a beautiful night under the stars coming up on Saturday. What would you say, Janelle, are some of the immediate things that you want to take care of through this organization? I know it probably is a laundry list of things. I mean, we've had so many discussions about it, and I've worked in the past with a number of organizations as well, so I understand some of the challenges. But if you had like a magic wand and it could be like one major thing up front or one or two, you know, what would some of the major areas be that you would tackle?
One issue that jumps out to me for sure is employment. We have a lot of young people especially who would like to be employed, but every time we apply somewhere, we're hearing, oh, we can't cater to you, or we can't do this right now, or we don't know how to cater to you. And as I said before, this leads to a lot of dependency. We have to depend on the state for money, have to depend on family members. And as you can imagine, dependency can also lead to a lot of abuse, financial abuse, physical abuse. And we want to get our people away from this circle of dependency. So one thing I would say for sure is equal and equitable employment. But even before we get to employment, we have to look at education as well. Because putting persons in special schools where they cannot do the common entrance exam, where they can't do CSCs to have an equal edge on the job market isn't saying anything, especially 2024. We should get past that by now. There are different ways of including persons, and I think we need to embrace that in Barbados to ensure that persons, regardless of their backgrounds, their disability, or wherever they come from, we can all have an equal chance at education.
Now you mentioned, Sharice, that you know you weren't born with a visual disability, but it's something you acquired along the way. Have there been any stark differences in terms of how you've been able to go about your everyday outside of the obvious that now puts you in this position where you're thinking, I truly need to advocate?
Yes. You said outside of the obvious, but simply just wanting to complete a simple task like go to the bank. Say Janelle did not have a visual disability, but she's accompanying me. They would speak to Janelle and not to me. So it makes me feel like less of a human. Even as it relates to, as Janelle stated, employment, applying for jobs, they would look at your CV with your, when you put visual on it, and it will be a challenge.
I can't believe that people actually say we can't accommodate you.
I've heard it many times.
Yes,
I've heard it many times. Not only at employment and job places, but we also hear in schools, believe it or not. I've heard it when I applied for law school as well. And if I didn't fight, I would not be able to get to law school.
Well, you wouldn't be an attorney now.
All the time.
But you are.
Yes.
So, I mean, kudos to you. But you were agreeing there, Shania. Yeah, so you've heard that too? We can't accommodate you?
Of course. I have. In the short time that I had my vision loss, yes, I have.
Yeah, so how long has it been for you?
This year would have been 3 years.
Was it difficult to kind of adapt? I would imagine you're still adapting. So, what has that transition been like for you?
Well, I take it one day at a time. It has not been easy, but I just take it one day at a time. Adjusting. I am a mother, so readjusting to being a mother with vision loss, it has been a challenge, but it's still a blessing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know you're a mom too, Janelle.
Yes, we are. So is Sharice.
Yes, please. So, I mean, you ladies are multi-dimensional, but you're regular ladies with, you know, regular mommy duties, and you want to get on with doing your work and your jobs. And, you know, it's important for us to share in this way, because when you say, Sharice, that, you know, you go into the bank and obviously you're assisted because you're visually impaired, and then someone at the bank is directing the questions to the person who is there assisting you, and not you. I think a lot of the times stuff like that happens out of ignorance, people not knowing or being aware. So we really need to have these conversations so people know. I don't think that people, right thinking people, would deliberately, you know, set out to just be nasty. Right thinking, Janelle, because I see you. I can see the wheels in Janelle's head just churning. So I know, but great to have you with us. The National United Society of the Blind Youth Empowerment Group movie night, Saturday, February 10th at 5 o'clock. It's only $5, but it truly is for a worthy cause. We have to continue talking about these things. I'm going to leave you, Madam President, Janelle Odell, with the final word.
Okay, I want to just say, earlier in the previous interview, you spoke about the aging workforce. We have a group of young persons out here who are willing, capable, and competent to work. And if we embrace everybody, we will have a bigger and younger workforce as well. So that is just one more reason for us to embrace and include everyone. But as we like to say in our organization, united we stand, divided we fall. We cannot do it alone. We need everybody to support one another so that we can all be included in Barbados.
Excellent. And if there was a lesson to be learned, it was COVID. And I mentioned that.
Exactly.
Even working from home, how are you still telling people you can't accommodate them when people were working from home?
Exactly.
Come on. Thank you, ladies, for coming in.
I'll
be there with my blanket. And, you know, sharing the love, like Janelle said. I need to. So thank you for making the trek this morning to share with us. You can contact the National United Society for the Blind at 234-3331. If there's any way that you think you can help, call them. If you have some vacancies and you're ready to shift that mindset and give abled people an opportunity, because disabled is a label, that's all it is. If you're able to do something, then you're not disabled. So you're limited by what you can do, as we can imagine. So, you know, reach out and do what you can. We're going to take a break here and come on back and wrap today's edition up. So stay with me.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Every year, millions of children die from causes that are preventable and treatable. Scary, right? It's a songbird Nikita, mom of two young boys, Knox and Noah. And rates of immunization have been backsliding to their lowest levels in the last 3 decades, which means that children are missing out on routine vaccines that can help keep them safe from deadly diseases like measles, mumps, polio, and even tetanus. I want to encourage every mom and dad out there to give your child the opportunity to live a healthy life, one that they will not only survive, but thrive. Protect your child as I protect mine.
Hey guys, my name is John Yard and I'm the father to an amazing 3-year-old little boy. He'd say it like this: my name is Malachi John Yard. And Malachi, he's a super adventurous little boy. He loves to explore, he loves to have a great time, and it's my responsibility to facilitate such. One of the things that I do is ensure that the spaces where he's around, that they're safe from danger and harm. As a father, I also recognize that there's some things and some threats to his own safety as a child that we can't see with our physical eyes. That's why we believe in vaccinations as a family. I want my son, my adventurous little boy, to be as adventurous and as curious in this world as he possibly can, safely. We believe that DPT vaccination safeguards our son from tetanus, from diphtheria and so many other viruses that are out there. My parents did it for me, I'm doing it for my son, and I really hope that you do it for yours. God bless you.
Kids Karaoke is a platform for young aspiring singers to shine and express their musical abilities. Tune in to CBC TV 8 on Mondays at 5:30 p.m. and repeat it on Saturdays at 2 p.m. and enjoy the performances of these talented young singers.
For the past 19 years, QFM has been sharing with you, learning from you, and together building a community for all.
Good morning to you.
All right, so thank you for all of your comments and your feedback, particularly on this interview. Great interview this morning with the visual impaired. Lots of information for Barbados to work on and support those with disabilities. That's from Patricia Ben. Patricia is always locked on. Eileen says disabled people are people too and should be treated like human beings. God bless you all and keep up the great work. People need to be more aware about the way they treat people who have disabilities. That's from Marcia Rock. I mean, thank you guys for, responding immediately and sharing with us, but we want you to do it in a tangible way. Tangible. If you have job openings, think about it. We were just working from home. Children were studying from home. The possibilities are endless. Thank you for watching. And again, thank the ladies for coming in. We just had to punch you up with all of this beautiful green, bringing some, some light and some love to our set this morning. Hey, coming up tomorrow, we highlighted these beautiful young ladies. We're going to be speaking with a sister and brother duo in our Exceptional Youth segment. And we're going to get more into the Grammys and stuff like that. I know I promised that for today, but this interview was so interesting that it just wore on, and it didn't even feel like it was that long. So we're going to have to invite them back and see how everything goes. Again, thank you for tuning in for today's presentation of Morning Barbados. As you go through your day, remember to wear your smiles. And don't forget, come on back tomorrow. I'll be back here at 6 o'clock. See you then. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.